Okay, thank you very much, Ken. Welcome to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. This is the sixth session or day of the December board meeting. And as you all know, we are leaning for a decision or to build a decision on the sustainability project. I'm going to start by thanking the task force, the work stream, the staff for the work done. Meanwhile, it was a very short time frame for them to work on the proposal and integrate the board's comments. So thank you for that. That is what it will allow us to discuss the final version and take a decision or a vote by the end of the meeting. But of course, subject conditional to the decision that we will be making on Friday on the workstream 1 proposals, because as you know, this is going to be one exposure draft and not two separated exposure drafts. So the decision will be a single one, but of course we will have to make progress and advance on the basis of the partial or conditional decision that we'll be making today on the workstream 2 proposals. So if there aren't any issues or topics that anyone may want to raise before we start and go into the substance of the proposal, I don't know if there is anything that you want to mention to the board. I see Ken is nodding. So, okay, so I think we can start. And I'm going to give the floor to Christelle, the staff, I don't know who is going to present, to update us on the new version, on the most important parts of the new version that was circulated already, highlighted in green what were the adjustments made. So I think that everybody should be in a position to have a smooth discussion and make your minds up with respect to a decision on this project. Or sub-project. Christelle.
Yes, really.
You're muted, Christelle. You're muted.
We were very close to the definitive version last week, so we have focused. Laura has sent a mail with a very detailed input on what was changed, and it was really more of an editorial side, or being let's say more easily understandable. And so I suppose Laura is there and can navigate us through these changes if there is any kind of input from the board at this stage. We have had some other comments in between, but nothing very substantial, and I think it doesn't necessitate any adaptation. Laura, are you there?
I am, Christelle. Thank you. Okay. And hello, everyone. Thank you, Christelle. So in terms of procedure, what John and I will do today is just go through the turnaround documents that were circulated earlier this week. We will go through the green highlights that have not been discussed with the board last week. And for each of those, we will pause for comments. And so I will start with the turnaround version of agenda item 5A, which is the part 5, the ethics standards for sustainability assurance. We will not go through agenda item 5B, the glossary, because the changes to workstream 2 related definitions were all discussed last week with the board. There were no additional changes. And then I'll pass it to John to go through agenda items 5C, the consequential and confirming amendments, and also 5D, the changes to the extant code for sustainability reporting by professional accountants. And so let me just share my screen, agenda item 5A. Okay, I trust that everyone is seeing the turnaround 5A. Okay, so the first change that we made that was not discussed with the board was in this paragraph 5100.1a. We made here basically two changes. The first one is when we say relevant knowledge, skills, and experience. We had previously expertise instead of experience. We've replaced that word to avoid some confusion with the new definition that the experts task force is proposing to introduce, and also because knowledge, skills, and experience is an expression that is used elsewhere in the code. And then, so in terms, we don't think this substantially changes the idea. It's just to avoid confusion. And then we used this expression, which is also used elsewhere in the code, to have appropriate training or to have training, instead of saying to undergo training, which was something that, which was a comment that we received saying that it sounded a little odd. And so we were proposing to use have appropriate training instead. And I would pause here first for comments from the board.
Thank you, Laura. Any comments? I'm afraid I'm not seeing, well, I don't see any hands, so please go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. So this change is basically editorial. We just replaced and independence with including independence in brackets for to be consistent with the title of the code, with the title of part 5, and to references to ethics requirements or the relevant ethical requirements that, for example, ISA 5000 has. It's mainly editorial. This is also editorial. Okay, so the next relevant change is here in this paragraph 5100.2b. The changes in this little a and the changes in this little b were just a way to reword this paragraph to make the encouragement more explicit. We now say that the non-PA, the practitioner who is a non-PA, is encouraged to apply parts 1 to 4b of the code. So again, this is not really a substantial change. It's just something that we need to reword the leading and these two sub-bullets in order to make the encouragement more explicit as requested by the board last week. Again, this one is editorial, the including independence. We made additional editorial changes after circulating the documents to the board. So in little 2 here, we replaced who with that, because we're talking about entities and not necessarily people. The same in little 3 here, and the same in little 6 here. And then we added the word other in little 4 here, because fraud is already an example of non-compliance with laws and regulations. And so it's simply editorial. But I wanted to point out these changes that were made after the documents were circulated to the board. We received a couple more comments after the circuit. So yesterday and this morning, we received a couple more comments regarding this paragraph here. The first one is, both of them relate to this encouragement to the non-professional accountants. One of those comments was to add at the end of this sentence a reference to the public interest. So it would be a practitioner who is not a professional accountant is encouraged to apply parts 1 to 4b of the code to guide the practitioner's general conduct in the public interest. We have not been able to, this comment was just received this morning. We've informed, we've let Workstream 2 know, but this has not really been discussed with Workstream 2. But our view is that, and so after I stop, I would welcome any views from Workstream too. But staff's view is that this addition is not necessary, because the public interest is first and foremost linked to the sustainability information that is subject to assurance. So we have here the public trust in the sustainability information that is subject to assurance. And this really is what underpins the public trust and the public interest in Part 5, not necessarily all the other activities or the general conduct of the non-PA. So we have to consider that sustainability assurance is the scope of this project, and while it's agreed that the public interest underpins the sustainability assurance, the same may not be widely accepted regarding those other activities that non-PAs may perform. And so our view is that the encouragement in this paragraph for non-PAs to use parts 1 to 4b of the code, it should be read in the context of Part 5, which means the public trust in the sustainability information that is subject to assurance, because this is what leads non-PAs to apply the code, to apply Part 5, and why they are consequently encouraged to apply the rest of the code. And another argument here is that to consider is that if there is public interest in everything that a non-PA does, then perhaps an encouragement is not sufficient, and they should be required to apply the whole code. And I think that is something that the IESBA is going to consider in the context of the new strategy and work plan, especially when it's addressing that strategic commitment to explore the enlargement of the scope of the code, starting with the preparation of sustainability information by all preparers, not only public accountants. And I would pause here for comments.
Laura, I don't see anyone wanting to comment, so I think you can proceed. Sorry, now I see Sanjit, please.
Yeah, very briefly, Laura, I've heard you. I think I would leave it to the work stream to discuss it, whichever way you want. But this 5100.1, where we talk about the public interest, I'm just connecting this with that. That was my suggestion, but I'll leave it to the work stream to close it. This is not something which is very major, but I'm fine with whatever the work decides. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjit. Luigi.
Sorry. Let's say I will leave to the work stream to decide. I think that the addition could be pertinent, because at the end, even in the second part of this statement, we are basically referring to a general interest. So in order to for this encouragement to be stronger, probably a reference to the public interest would be appropriate. I have not a very strong view about that, but I think that the addition may be pertinent.
Thank you, Luigi. Gavin, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I tend to agree with Luigi. I think anytime you can refer to the public interest, it's not going to hurt anything. Public trust is mentioned there, so I don't have this strong feeling like Luigi had mentioned. On the encouraged, I guess the ship has probably already sailed, but I think it should be more than encourage. It should be something stronger than that. I think it should be an expectation that they follow something, either the code or something equivalent to the code. And I suspect that's probably going to come out in the comments from the ED. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. Laura.
Perhaps I'll just interject here. Sorry, Laura. Sorry to interrupt. Perhaps might be helpful to, because we really just received this comment from Sanjeev not long before our call this morning. So just wonder, we of course have heard from Luigi and Galen as well, who are supportive of adding this phrase in the public interest at the end of the first sentence. Perhaps might just give an opportunity for workstream to give their feedback. Not just not spending too much more time on this, of course, but I think this might be good to give the workstream 2 an opportunity right now to if you have any immediate reaction, and then we can get the board's view, and Ken as a comment.
Thank you, Jeff. Of course, I think I welcome any comments from workstream 2 members. Laura, if you could go to paragraph 5.100.1, which in fact refers to the expectation of acting in the public interest for all sustainability assurance practitioners. It is actually in the very first line. And that makes sense in the context of part 5 containing requirements for even non-professional accountants. Whereas here it is an encouragement. And my inclination is not to link it to the public interest when there is only a mere encouragement. Admittedly, yes, it makes a lot of sense, but without there being an obligation under the code for non-PAs, but only an encouragement, it is almost as if there is that expectation of acting in the public interest, but actually you are not required to do anything, but merely being encouraged to do so. So I do think there is merit in waiting for the new work stream that's going to explore expanding the scope and applicability of the code to all preparers, to then explore basically establishing the appropriate responsibilities and obligations and duties under the code, and then linking that then to the public interest. As I say, without there being any requirement, it is a very weak position to be arguing that PAs would be non-PAs would be acting in the public interest if they don't have essentially no obligation under the code to do so.
Thank you, Ken. I see a point there, but let's just see if any workstream 2 members want to add their considerations or any considerations.
I see, Christelle.
Yes, if I may, I fully support what Ken said. It relates to the explanation from Laura. I think the public interest is not a marmalade that we can just spread over the text everywhere. It should be well intended. We have that in the first line of the chapter 1, which is a very strong statement, I would argue, and I support to have a potential move on that, depending, of course, on the answers to the ED and more on the work we still have to do for the next step.
Thank you, Christelle. Sunam?
Yes, I'm supportive of Ken's view and Christelle's view. I believe we can make a final judgment after our new work stream, strategy and work plan is finalized. So I think at the moment, I believe the public interest has been well addressed in the first paragraph of this section. So I don't think we need, again, the public interest described in this part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunam. Vanya, please.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. I think that, as we have already stated, the public interest in the general introduction, to put it in other parts of the test in an aleatory manner could cause some kind of consideration of whether it is still applicable when it is not shown in other paragraphs. So I would keep it in the general, because then it will be encompassing everything instead of qualification in a paragraph or other, what I think might be confusing.
Thank you, Vanya. And finally, Begonia.
Thank you, Gabriela. I'm sorry for not having been connected at 3 o'clock, but I was in the other Zoom, in the public one. Anyway, I have a question. It's a question about the use of the code. I think it's in the public interest that the code is used by all assurers, but this is regardless if they follow part 5 or part 4B. Am I correct that all assurers of sustainability reporting should follow the code part 5 if they are doing an engagement which is high level, but part 4B, even if it is not being revised yet, but they have to follow part B? Is that correct? Is that my question? Regarding if you include or not public interest again, I think it's included at the beginning in 51000000. If you want to add it again later, that's fine, of course. But my question is 4B also applicable, enforceable for other engagements?
Laura, do you want to respond to Begonia?
Sorry?
Laura,
Yes.
go ahead.
I can try to respond. I would also then invite maybe Mark, because this is also an independence related question, but I believe the view is, so for sustainability assurance practitioners who are professional accountants, yes, it's mandatory for them to use part 4B because they have to use, they are subject to the whole code. For non-PAs, we are not including an equivalent part 4B under part 5, right? So at this moment, and until we revise part 4B to include it in part 5, there is no requirement for them to apply those standards. Even though, I mean, if regulators want to include the full independence standards suite when they are adopting the code, that would be the level playing field. But under the code, part 4B is not included in part 5 and therefore would not be required for non-PAs.
Yeah, I can just confirm that, Laura. Obviously, we included scoping material in part 5 of the code, showing which sustainability engagements were caught by part 5. Those that are not caught by the definition in part 5 would go down a part 4B route, although, as you rightly say, that would be a requirement for a professional accountant, but unless a regulator in a jurisdiction was to require it, it wouldn't apply to someone who was not a professional accountant.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laura and Mark, for your responses, and Begonia, I hope it's clear now. So I don't know, Christelle, but I would say that we have some, not dissenting, but some suggestions to include the public interest there. But I think that what we heard from Ken and the fact that the work stream 2 is at least at this stage not supporting that inclusion, I would probably rather go or opt to leave the text as it is and see the reactions that we will have. Again, stressing that this is not the final, the last opportunity for us to make decisions. This will be after the exposure draft. So If Sanjeev, Luigi, and Galen can live with this without major problems, I'd say that we would follow the workstream one advice and approach. Also under Ken's considerations, and leave it as it is proposed without inclusion of the reference to the public interest to the non-professional practitioners. Is that okay?
Yeah, it is
Yes.
fine for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, fine.
I'm good with it
Uh,
too, as well, Gabriela.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll be prepared if in case there are comments which align to your perspective, and we will be already will have a heads up that this might be a possibility. So Laura, back to you.
Thank you. So another comment that we received after circulating the turnaround versions regarding still this paragraph in little b here is that to include in each of these examples, little 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., to include a reference of the relevant sections in parts 1 to 4b, to help non-PAs to understand the examples that are being mentioned here. So even though this was a comment received after the circulation of the documents, actually Workstream 2 had discussed this issue last week during the board meeting, and we agree that it would be more. We understand the concern, we agree, but it would be more appropriate to include such examples and the references to what sections we are talking about here in the guidance for non-PAs that IESBA plans to issue alongside the final standards, because a simple cross-reference to a single section would likely not be enough. Because, for instance, we have here the preparation or the presentation of financial and non-financial information for a client, a firm, or other. So we are talking about section 220. However, section 220 and other sections in part 5 cannot be read alone. They need to be read in conjunction with part 1 due to the building blocks approach of the code. And I think this is a rather, it's an explanation that is, we can do it better if we do it outside the code. Because if we do it inside the code, it's going to become very complex and very confusing. And so the workstream's view here is to, yes, we agree, we need to include cross-references and say what we are talking about, but not in the code. And it's better to do it in the guidance for non-PAs. We have also received other comments from a technical assistant that relates to not this paragraph anymore, to other paragraphs in part 5. They relate to parts that the board has settled on already last week. And so the workstream's view regarding those comments is that no change is required for the ED at this stage, and that the task force can discuss them together with other comments that we receive from respondents to the ED. Unless there are any comments here on what I just said, I will move on to the next relevant change, which is in page 33. So here we have a change to one of the self-review threads under paragraph 5300.6A1. This was a comment regarding that this example was not clear enough, and which was this one, the previous wording. This was not clear enough, and so we received an alternative wording, which the workstream 2 gladly accepted, and we have then just reworded this example to make it more clear. And I would pause here for any comments.
Thank you, Laura. Any comments to this clarification that was added here? No comments. Thank you very much. Laura, back to you.
Thank you. And then the last change that we have not discussed yet with the board is here in page 86. This is under the new equivalent section on tax planning. And this was discussed. So this was discussed with the board last week because we had previously deleted the reference to the profession in this paragraph 5380.14a1. And there were some comments from the board saying that this is still relevant. Please keep it there, just reword it in a different way. And so the suggestion from workstream 2 is to use this wording here in green. So we would say that the implications to the reputation of the client, a relevant profession, or a group of practitioners from a prolonged dispute with the relevant tax authorities. And I would pause here for comments. Gabriella, I think you are on mute.
I'm so sorry. Andy, please.
Apologies, I meant to send this if I didn't. The one we're looking at right now, is the group of practitioners meant to be modified also by relevant, so a relevant profession or group of practitioners? I mean, I wasn't sure if so forgive the grammatical change, but that's why I meant to send it. But I believe we mean to have relevant modify both. So however it's best modified, I'm okay with it to make sure. Thank you.
Sorry, Andy, just to make clear, you are saying that relevant should apply both to the profession and to the group of practitioners?
Yeah, it should be a relevant group of practitioners, it would seem to me. It seemed rather random if it wasn't just a group of practitioners. So, I mean, it's an awkward term, and I think it's probably the best that we have to the best I've heard so far to deal with it, considering what the what's trying to be expressed in here. And again, I apologize. I thought I had sent this and don't mean to take time up with what might be a relatively minor item.
Thank you, Andy.
Christelle, please.
Yes, regarding this proposition, I think I would not concur with it, because the relevant profession was meant to say we don't know how to qualify the potential profession of the practitioner. So we called for this wording to apply. But then the group of practitioners can have so many multiple ways of existence and meanings, etc., that putting relevant to it would mean that we have some criteria to make it relevant, which we do not have. I think it's to the practitioner to know and to have reasons to know that his misbehavior could have an impact on a group of practitioners from which he's part of. So I would not make it a relevant profession or group of practitioners, but leave it as it is.
Thank you, Christelle. Ken, please.
Yeah, and perhaps a suggestion to maybe reconcile the two slightly different viewpoints here. I think what we are speaking about here is the relevant profession to which the sustainability assurance practitioner belongs. It's not a random profession, even though we are referring to it as being a relevant profession, but it is a profession to which that particular practitioner might belong, if indeed he is part of a profession, or if not, a group of practitioners. So my suggestion, and I'm fully aware this is kind of an editorial, but if that were to read, or a relevant profession or a group of practitioners to which the sustainability assurance practitioner might belong, comma, from a prolonged dispute. So to make it very specific that we are speaking about a profession or a group to which that particular practitioner might belong. So that would make it less open and a lot more specific.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat?
Yes, it would just say or a relevant profession or a group of practitioners to which the sustainability assurance practitioner might belong.
It becomes a very, very long sentence. Maybe maybe the prolonged dispute might be put at the beginning of the sentence to make it relevant to have such a long list of implications. No, I don't know.
Ken, would it be better, Ken, if we say or a relevant profession or group of practitioners without the A, or do you think that it's better not to attach relevant to the group of practitioners based on Christelle's comments earlier?
Well, I thought Christelle didn't want
Okay.
relevant to attach to a group of practitioners,
Okay.
so that's why I
Okay.
was suggesting.
Okay. It will be a group of practitioners, Laura.
I think we've come as that should be okay. I mean, it
Yep.
just needs to be read in the clean version.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so is everybody fine with this? Laura, back to you.
Thank you. So we've reached the end of the relevant changes in agenda item 5A. So I will pass it to John now to go through 5C and 5D. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laura. And as Laura mentioned, I'll work my way through. There's just a few changes in agenda 5C, which is on the consequential and conforming amendments, and then we'll go through agenda item 5D as well. So there's just 3 changes in 5C. So on page 2, 120.3A1B, just a minor editorial change. Page 3, again, just a minor editorial change at the top of the page there. And the last change there is to 300.2, the last bullet point, just adding professional accountants in public practice when performing, just to be consistent with the other bullet points with the reference to the professional accountant, and to change the engagements at the end there. So if there's any comments on that one, on agenda item 5C.
No comments, John.
Okay, thanks, Gabriella. Just give me a moment. I'll just change documents. Okay, so agenda item 5D is the proposed revisions to parts 1 to 3 of the code for sustainability reporting. Again, there's actually just 3 changes since what was discussed at the board meeting last week. So paragraph 100.3 is just to revert back to the previous drafting there, referring to including independent standards for consistency, like Laura mentioned, consistency with the title of the code, but also part 5. Just moving on to page 10. This was actually discussed last week, was just to remove the reference to better apparent. So we discussed that item last week. And the last change to refer to is on page 23. Just bear with me. The last change there is to that last bullet point in 310.4A1. Previously, it referred to board member, and there was some discussion last week that the particular group may not have a strict structure like that in terms of a board. So the workstream 2 discussed that. We also discussed whether it could be just a member of a sustainability advocacy group, but we thought that might be too broad and too far removed. So workstream 2 settled on whether also being in a leadership position at the sustainability advocacy group. So I'll just pause there to see if there's any comments and pass back to you, Gabrielle, on that, just to see if there's any comments.
No comments, John, as far as I can see.
Okay, well, that takes us to the end of agenda item 5D as well, in terms of the changes from last week. So I will pass over to Christelle.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've gone through everything we wanted to share with the board. So as we are only part of the ED, I don't know, Ken, what would be the procedure to have the board approval? Do we have to wait on Friday to have it all, or can we conclude on this part already?
Yes, thank you, Crystal. I'm happy to respond to your question. The stage we're at now is that this completes the board's deliberations on the workstream 2 provisions. We are not yet at a stage where the board can take a final vote on the exposure draft, because we still have the workstream 1 portion to be considered and deliberated on Friday. So my recommendation to the board that the board at this point is for the board to take a vote to close off the workstream 2 text. It's a close off of the workstream 2 text, meaning to say that all issues have been deliberated and there will be no further changes to the workstream 2 text. And then the board will consider the workstream 1 proposals on Friday and then take the vote on the exposure draft at that time. So, Gabriela, I will turn it back to you to see if there are any final comments from the board before we take that vote to close off the workstream 2 text.
Okay, thank you very much to workstream 2. Ken, do you want to handle the procedures for the vote? I think it's very easy, but I'll leave it to you.
No, I see a comment. I see a comment from Begonia. Begonia, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you again. My question is about the glossary. I do understand that the glossary is not going to be voted at the moment because it's also influencing workstream 1, and I have some doubts about another practitioner that I asked the other day and also talked to Mark about that. So that's my question. Does this vote will include the glossary, or is the glossary to be decided Friday?
Crystal, do you want to take that question, or Laura?
Yes, I'll take it.
To my understanding, as another practitioner is from workstream 1 discussion, what we will embed in our vote today is the content of the glossary based on workstream 2 work. And as you remember, in the glossary, on each of the words, it was marked up if it was workstream 1 or workstream 2 contribution. So my recommendation would that the vote is in substance, what workstream 2 has contributed, and then on Friday we can conclude on the full documents after discussion with workstream 1, just like you proposed.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Christelle, and thank you, Begonia, for your questions so that everything is clear to everybody. What we are deciding now is to stabilize the text as it is, the text proposed by workstream 2, and assuming that we won't make any other changes on this text unless something very strange would happen on the discussion of workstream 1 that would impact this, but I don't foresee anything like that. So this is a final decision on the text, not a final decision on the exposure draft on the sustainability project. And before we move forward to vote, just the last chance for the board members to ask anything, make any comment, any suggestion. I think that there won't be anything because we have discussed everything during the in-person board meeting, and the changes that were made were all discussed here, or at least presented. So are we ready? Okay, so Ken.
Yes, thank you, Gabriela. So I will ask really for board members to indicate if they are in favor of closing off the workstream 2 text. So those in favor, if you could raise your hand in Zoom. As you have 17 board members, are we missing Yao Shu?
No, Yoshi's hands raised.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we do have 18.
I raised
Okay.
my hand.
Thank you, Yao Shu. We do have 18, Gabriela. So the board has closed off the workstream 2 text. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. Thank you very much to all board members and to the task force and staff. This is the start of a final approval of this exposure draft. So again, I'm very sorry that we can't make these decisions in person, because this would be a unique opportunity for us to celebrate today and on Friday, and it is of course different when we do it virtually, but we have all reasons to celebrate and to be happy. This work of workstream 2 was not in our horizon. I'd say when we started working on sustainability, it became clear to the eyes of all of us that it was absolutely necessary not to make our work completely incomplete, and to cover what we had to cover. It faced a lot of hesitations and questions, namely the fundamental question of whether we should make it as well profession agnostic or not, which format should we adopt. But in substance, it's not an easy process and an easy task. This task, or this work that was developed by workstream 2, because changing what is already there and making it meaningful for a completely different scope and sector is at least as challenging as starting from scratch. I suspect that in some cases it can be even more difficult, because we have to take what exists and make sure that it adjusts to the new reality. So thank you very much for the wonderful work done. I think that the board has reasons to celebrate today. Don't celebrate too much, because we need you alive and thoughtful on Friday for the final approval. But yeah, it's important to celebrate, and it's important to have the full awareness of what it means, what some moments mean, and this moment is really an important moment for us. So, well, we don't have a glass of bubbles to celebrate, but we may clap our hands and and wait for Friday for the final approval. Thank you very much to all of you. Congratulations to the IESBA board, to the IESBA staff, and to our stakeholders. We'll for sure appreciate this proposal and
Thank you.
what it will mean. So I think that for today, this is all. Ken, unless there is anything that you want to mention, otherwise,
No.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry, I
just-
thought you were going to approve the September minutes today.
The minutes.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Yes, we should take the minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So
Thank you,
yeah,
Ken.
the minutes. Okay, we did not approve them on Friday because they have been circulated well on the basis of the comments received very close to the meeting, and meaning that the board members might not have had the opportunity to see them. So this is now the moment to do that. Thank you for reminding me, and I would now ask the board members if they approve the September board meeting minutes.
Yes, and Gabriela, I would include the joint plenary minutes as well with IESBA for the approval of the minutes.
Okay. So
Okay,
maybe
we have approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also to those who provided comments to both the minutes, and for making it yeah, and for reminding me that this should be subject to approval today and not next Friday. So we will meet again next Friday at 8.
Same time.
Sorry.
Same time.
Yeah, and be ready for the final approval. So we will discuss the final text distributed by Workstream 1 on the basis of the discussions had and the comments received. And after stabilizing the text of Workstream 1, sorry, we will then take a vote on the exposure draft as a whole, because this is going to be only one exposure draft. Any question?
Excuse me. When I look at my agenda, unless there is a change in the timing in New York, my reservation is from 9 to 12 New York time. Am I right?
That's correct.
You just said 10. Oh, okay.
No. 9
okay.
a.m. New York time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all. We'll see you again on Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
You will.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, thanks.